Hey everybody, Robin here, World According to Robin. So bear with me, I'm doing something different this time. It's about reminiscing. If you're within my age group, you'll probably get this right away. And I would love for you to join and add to my story because I'd love to hear what you went through when you were younger. My story is called A Simpler Time. And I'm starting it off with, do you remember when your parent worked all year long for 1 or 2 weeks vacation? And then you go on vacation and he takes the people with him on vacation, the people that he'd like to get away from for a couple days. Nowadays it would be your husband, your wife, your kids, but you end up taking them with you, spending thousands of dollars on a vacation, and somehow you're able to smile through a delay in the airport, a problem with getting your room service doesn't show up, anything you can smile through after paying thousands of dollars. However, you have that for free at home and you can't smile through it. It's just food for thought. I guess you have to spend the money to pay to enjoy, and I think that's ass backwards. Okay. Do you remember when our kids were little and we couldn't wait for them to get older so we could have an intellectual conversation with them? And when we finally got that moment, when they grew up, we were older or are older, and the intellectual conversation is usually about something we did or didn't do, or something we really don't want to hear, if we can hear it at all at this point. You got to take this like with a grain of salt because it's also true. Why is it when we were 17 years old, people would ask us, what do you want to do with your life? Well, you know what? I just learned how to walk and talk and read, go to school, stick by a schedule, wash my car. How many things did you do? Do book reports on things, bullshit that you'll never use in a million years. We had to spend time doing that rather than learning about who we are or how we handle situations or anything like that. Thank God back then I knew I was always going to paint and I knew I was always going to write. But a lot of people didn't know what they wanted to do, and a lot of people really did know, doctors and lawyers. They knew right off the bat. They had a parent or something like that who steered them in that direction, which was very, very cool. But a lot of people that I knew didn't have a friggin' clue what they wanted to do for the rest of their life. Now, keep in mind, 17 years old. And let's just say you live to be 85. You got 68 years of figuring out what you want to do that's going to make you happy for the rest of your life. And between you and me, I think that's kind of impossible to ask a 17-year-old that. Okay, so living to 85, and people live longer now. So you have to know, the kids nowadays have to know more. They have to really set their sights on what they want to do that's going to make them happy forever. And it's hard to ask a 17-year-old when they're graduating from high school that's exactly what they wanted to do. What I did know is I wanted to paint and write, and I wanted to really fall in love one day in my life. Really, really passionately fall in love. I accomplished one of those things. But, we went from, the prepubescent train to the puberty train very quickly. Some of us got on that train faster than others, and that's cool too. It's all part of the growing up stage. However, the Magical Mystery Tour during middle school then took us to the long and winding road in high school, then took us to wanting life to take us to the limit one more time. We sang, "We may never pass this way again," but we're too young to appreciate what that passage really means. We were told to save for a rainy day, but no one told us that should that rainy day turn into a shit show, you would never be able to save enough money to cover that storm. Isn't that sad? Why is it that some people cannot decide, I'm sorry, after flipping through 1,775 channels, what they want to watch on TV? Have you ever sat with somebody that just keeps flipping? It can make you go out of your friggin' mind. So, when I grew up, and I'm going to age myself now, I had 7 channels, 7 stations to pick from. So I usually picked what I wanted to watch within the first minute. It was pretty easy for me because I didn't have much to choose from. And I remember watching Vincent Price in the Wax Museum or something like that. I remember doing that, and Wuthering Heights, and always the dance shows. So here's what a normal moment would be watching television, a show that you wanted to watch. So you'd sit down on the sofa, and after reading the TV guide to tell you what you can see on the 7 stations that you have, you'd get up, you'd go over to the TV, you'd turn it on. You'd go back to the sofa, you'd sit down. You'd put a blanket on top of you and realize that the volume is not up. You'd have to take the blanket off of you, get up, go over to the TV, turn the volume up, go back to the sofa, put the blanket back on, only to see it kind of fuzzy. It's like fuzzy on the screen. Okay, there was a problem with the little antenna that was in the back that you had to jiggle. So you get up from the sofa after taking the blanket off, you go back up, you jiggle the antenna. Okay, you got it working pretty damn good. Then you decide, okay, I think I'm gonna have popcorn now. Jiffy Pop was the big one back then. So, you take out the little foil thing. If you're not knowledgeable about Jiffy Pop, it's quite an experience. It's all in the timing. So you're scraping the top of your coils off of your electric stovetop to make this dome of aluminum blow up. By the time it's blown up to the top, you've already burnt the kernels that are at the bottom. That's about the time that you smell the burnt kernels. You take it off the stove, you peel back the aluminum, and then you have to peel back the tips of your fingers because you've burnt them. You take out all of the dark kernels, the burnt kernels that you cannot eat. You put it in a bowl. You go back to the sofa. You put the blanket back on. You put the popcorn on your lap. You're ready to watch the show, and the show's over. This is what we went through, and we never complained. We wanted to watch television. Didn't matter what really was on. Like Lost in Space. I remember I wanted a robot. Now we can have a robot. I don't want a robot now. It's like, it doesn't make you think. I like to make people think. So that was the experience in watching a television show. And today, people get angry when they lose the remote. These were my remotes. I never lost these. My hands were always with me. I never had to worry about the remote. So things progressed, but also made things in certain ways more difficult. Or we just expect too much of things, and we're just not thankful enough for what we have. We always want more. So that is my popcorn story. Now, when it comes to dancing, black or white, I learned how to dance by the best. It was Soul Train and then American Bandstand. I loved every minute of it. I learned all my moves from it, and to this day, I can dance. I learned how to belly laugh by watching I Love Lucy, and sometimes people have said to me that certain ways that I look or I act, I resemble Lucille Ball. I don't see it, but they see it. I do know that her humor can get you through a lot of stuff. I learned about divorce by watching The Brady Bunch. Sugar-coated, definitely. I've been through a divorce, and it's anything but sugar. And I learned how to cook because I seriously, and I mean seriously, thought I was going to marry David Cassidy. I don't know why, delusional. I saw him in a concert. I was dancing, my shirt unbuttoned. My mother was with me. And at that moment, I was in like the 4th row, and he took a look over at me, and yeah, my shirt had unbuttoned during the dance, and it was love at one sight. So that's how I learned about that I wanted to cook. I learned how to be sexy by watching Tina Louise on Gilligan's Island, watching Raquel Welch, and browsing through the Playboy magazines tucked under my brother's mattress. I learned about handsome and well-endowed men after purchasing my first Playgirl magazine at the Circle before heading into Ocean City to spend the weekend with my girlfriends and with a couple guys that we were going to meet up with that weekend. I wanted all of us to be prepared. We weren't prepared. And I learned about the police when I was making out in a car at the Morristown, I think it was called Strawbridge Lake, and a flashlight interrupted my interlude. I guess that was a good way to learn about the police. Now you have ICE coming to your door. I guess that mine was a better way of learning about the police. I dreamt of living in a mansion after watching the Beverly Hillbillies, and I wanted a housekeeper just like in Hazel and the Courtship of Eddie's Father. I watched Bonanza only if my father promised to tickle my back while I watched Michael Landon, and I learned how to say goodnight in a very nice way over and over again by watching Little House on the Prairie. There were times when I was on a date when I wished I could wiggle my nose and get out of there really fast. But that never happened, like on Bewitched. And I also thought of crossing my arms and tweaking my head and shutting my eyes and doing the I Dream of Jeannie thing when I had a teacher I couldn't stand. But when I pulled open my arms and opened my eyes and put my head back, she was still there. Oh, Jeannie. I was enlightened to this day by Saturday Night Live. When I first saw Saturday Night Live, every time I turned on the television, it was during the weekend update. I thought it was a news program. My father was really into the news. And, back then you didn't want to do what your parents liked. So I thought it was a news program. It wasn't until a couple years later, around, 1978, maybe, yeah, that I actually walked in on the beginning of Saturday Night Live and realized that it wasn't a news program. And it's been on my list on Saturday nights ever since. I absolutely adore the show. So much talent. We sat in the mall on benches just looking at people for fun. That was a way of spending a Saturday afternoon. In fact, at Cherry Hill Mall, they used to have a little amusement park in the mall. And I love the roller coaster and the dark room, the little, you hit the trash cans and all. That was a great place to go with a boy until you hit the trash can and it killed the mood. We all learned how to keep change in our pocketbooks or our pockets, just in case we had to use the payphone. And most people knew how to call collect if they used the payphone often. I never learned to use the payphone except to call a girlfriend, like, where the hell are you? But we needed to keep the change. There was no cell phones back then, and it's kind of innocent. There's an innocent thing about our generation. I don't know what it is. Even though we were getting into the drug situation, it was kind of innocent. We learned, some of the cheapest places had the best pizza, and we really loved our bikes. Our bikes were awesome. I had a banana seat. We took pride in our bikes. We washed our bikes. We put the cards in the spokes. We had the little horn to tell everybody that we're here. We'd go down the street, ride. In fact, I remember riding my bike behind a mosquito truck many, many times. I thought that the fog was so cool. Should have the person put on the brakes. We had a whole entourage behind me. We would have smacked right into that truck, but I think he knew we were there. Haven't had any residual effects from, following the mosquito trucks, because I'm sure it was all dangerous shit, I'm sure. But nobody thought of that. And everybody I know that did it is still here and alive and well. I remember the excitement of hearing the Good Humor truck. And Mr. Softy. I loved Mr. Softy. But the good humor truck, you had to make a decision, you know. With good humor, you could get the cat or the dog, kind of fun. But good humor, you had to make that decision whether it was going to be a chocolate eclair or strawberry shortcake or the little cone thing with the gumball at the bottom or a sandwich. And I loved getting the gumball at the bottom. I hated that paper wrapper. I just hated that. But it was worth it to get the gumball at the bottom. And whatever you got, your friend got, which made it really kind of cool. That was our biggest decision that we had to make. I remember laying in the grass and putting a little yellow flower under my chin and asking a girlfriend, can you see the reflection of the yellow? This was an afternoon in our time. I don't know if that says something about our generation, but we had a lot of time to listen to the music because everything else didn't tie up our brains like it does today. We never had ticks or bugs, never thought about the ticks or bugs, never heard of Lyme's disease. We defrosted things on the kitchen counter. We didn't die. We ate cake batter with raw eggs in it. We didn't die. No one had alarm systems. And when it started to get dark, you knew it was dinner time. Nobody hollered for you. They knew you'd come in when the lights would go on the streets. You'd get off your bike and you'd go in for dinner. And you never worried about somebody stealing you. It wasn't an issue. I don't know why. Maybe we just didn't hear about it on the internet, but none of us worried about being outside and somebody coming along and taking us. Boy, times have really changed. I remember on Halloween, we brought pillowcases to get our treats. And some people would actually ask us to do a trick or a treat. You get a trick or a treat. Now, they're designer bags. Everything has like their names on it, and they walk up with the little basket of that pumpkin. And pillowcases were charming. And they were really charming. And you were out until like midnight to get as much candy as you want. And you never had to take your shit to the hospital to get it videoed or to make sure it was safe. Never had to do that. Never had to do that. I don't know why things have become the way they are. Nowadays, you can't enjoy a holiday because the next holiday is being marketed on the holiday that you're enjoying. So you're on this treadmill of holidays, of getting cards out because on Christmas, Valentine's Day stuff is out. On like Mother's Day is a month away, and they're already doing Father's Day. Like, give the mothers a moment, please. We gave birth. We had these kids. We suffered through all their bullshit growing up. The fathers didn't. They were at work. They didn't. Give us just a couple weeks to enjoy our time, and then you can have your fucking barbecue and sit on your fucking hammock like every other day. And here's another thing. On Mother's Day, yes, it's wonderful being a mother. I'm a mother. I love being a mother. But you know what? On Mother's Day, we should be able to get away from the children, like the fathers go on the hammock or they do their own thing. Why do the fathers bring all the kids? Give mom breakfast in bed. Be with mom today. They're with mom every fucking day. Like, give us a day. Just one. We're just asking for one out of 365 days. Just one day to ourselves. Please, dads, wake up. You remember the kids when you were in school? It's not that you didn't get along with them, you just didn't feel like you had anything in common with them. And they just weren't your friends that you palled around with because for whatever reason, different groups, they were in different, whatever it was. Now you find through life's journey that you really do have a lot in common with the people that you didn't think you had anything in common with. And they've become closer than you could have ever imagined. I wonder if we told kids today that could happen, if that would help them get through some of these bad situations. Nobody's telling them that if they just wait a little bit, it just might get better. They just might feel okay. Which brings me to mandatory therapy in kindergarten through 12. When you're going to drive a car, you have to take lessons, right? Well, life is a car for a long, long time. And if you don't know who you are and you don't know how to drive that car, you're going to get in many, many accidents, I think. And I think, all the other things that you learn in school, the bullshit that you're never going to use, absolutely never. They never taught me how to balance a checkbook. I don't know how to balance a checkbook. These kids should be in therapy, mandatory therapy classes, K through 12. It's just like every other class. You might have to hire a couple people to give them one-on-ones. But you know what? It's worth it. Look at where the kids are now. They're completely screwed up. There's mass killings. Like, I don't get it. It's almost like technology is out of control, so their brains are out of control, and they don't know what they feel, and they pal around. I don't know what it is, but I think that would be an important feature in school rather than, I don't know, the stupid shit that we had to listen to and had to write reports about. It was absolutely ridiculous. That's just my opinion. In high school, I had a female gym teacher who, she would patrol the locker rooms. I'm remembering this shit. Patrol the locker rooms, and she'd just look around. And, I don't know if she was gay or she wasn't gay. It didn't really matter. We didn't really care at that time. And I still don't care. But I remember I would want to keep my friends on their toes. And back then they had your panties with the days of the week on the front. And I remember I would always try to fuck with their brains, and I would wear Monday on Friday and Friday on Tuesday. And some of my friends would really get a kick out of it. The teacher actually got a kick out of it. She read very closely what day I was, and she would question me why I'm wearing the wrong day. I thought that was hilarious. Needless to say, I never showered in the locker room after gym. So I must have felt a little peculiar, but it was never something, it was almost, it's a fun thing to think about. I don't really care. But, nowadays, a parent would go in and go, what the hell's going on? I think the parents have to ease up a little bit here. I mean, there's just too much shit. I actually had a male gym teacher in high school ask me away for a weekend. What is that, sexual? I said no. That was the end of it. It was no. That's simple. I don't know why there's a big to-do about these smaller kind of things, yet the Epstein files, no, really? We're not doing a fucking thing for that. And we have the facts on that. It's not hearsay, it's factual. So I don't understand, and it's putting a very bad look on any kind of sexual harassment. I mean, what's right? What is not right? If that's okay, then everything else is okay? It doesn't make sense. I recall singing in my mirror in my room, hairbrush in my hand. I sounded much better when nothing was coming out of my mouth because I don't sing very well, as you probably know. And I pretended I was a superstar. I liked it, and it was fun, and usually, and here's another thing. Usually when you didn't care for someone in high school or around in school, you just stayed away from them. There was no time to be a Karen. We didn't know about Karens, and I didn't know one Karen, to be honest with you. Although I do have to say I was called out senior year by a girl, and I don't know why. I don't recall why. I do know that it was phrased as a rumble. And, back in that time, I dressed nice, and nobody was going to mess up my outfit. So I was called out for this rumble, so I had the guys from the wrestling team and the football team and the basketball team going down the hallway to this rumble. And when she was coming up the opposite way, she didn't have anybody behind her. And the rumble never came about. Thank goodness, because don't mess with my hair. I felt that way back then, too. We didn't have time to be a Karen because we were busy looking through the Encyclopedia Britannica to find that one little phrase that was going to give us the A on this paper that was due tomorrow. Or we had to go to the library, get the pass, talk to the librarian who looked like Mrs. Beasley from The Courtship of Eddie's Father. And she totally didn't like children. No librarian liked children. And we'd finally get that one little piece and be diverted with a girlfriend or a guy friend. And never got the piece after spending all that time looking through the card catalog to the book. I do like this better right now, what we have. It's so much easier on the computer. We got jobs before we were of age to have them. You don't find that much anymore. We went clubbing with fake IDs and learned exactly what portion they were going to look at so that when they asked us about our ages, we knew exactly how to answer it. That was cool. I remember ordering drinks that matched my outfit when I would go clubbing. We wore bell bottoms with the cracks of our asses sticking out, and we wore clogs that killed our feet, but I wanted at that time, I was trying to look earthy, and realized at that time that I do not have an earthy look. Thank goodness, because they were really killing my feet. We like being self-sufficient and doing things ourselves. I grew up singing You Can't Hurry Love, and I feel that is true today. For anybody out there that is waiting for love, be patient, grasshopper. Be patient, grasshopper. Don't rush it. If you rush it, it won't be right. Our hearts broke to the song Babe, and we hoped that an afternoon delight back then was either kissing a guy after spinning the bottle and not getting your braces caught together, or skipping school and going to a friend's house, and getting back just in time for the last exam at the end of the day. And I also recall my mother would write me notes if I had a doctor's appointment. And I would tell her, you don't have to date them because they know it's today. But she would, every time I have to go out of school, she would write another note. And I would tell her each time, you don't have to date it. They know it's today. I'm giving it to them today. So I had like a catalog of 25 notes, undated. And I would just pull them out to give them to the guidance counselor, give them to everybody. And I was able to have some fun in other people's homes during the school day. That was a high. I had a good time with that. I had fun with that. You Should Be Dancing became our theme, and I could bump you across the room, straight across the room with absolutely no effort. Now I think I can do it with one hip. The other hip cannot shoot you across the room, and it'll knock you down, but it won't shoot you across the room. I was a dancing queen when I danced at Capriati's, the Coliseum, Valentino's, the Water Wheel, and Enchante. We were just staying alive back then. Let Your Love Flow was what girls thought about when we thought about sex, and we warned the guys, don't go breaking my heart. Sometimes we let them in while we sang silly love songs, and we washed our cars in short shorts to the song Car Wash. Life was simple back then, and even then, we wanted Calgon to take us away. We got our bagels at Bagel Place in Cherry Hill, but felt every morning when we got up to go to school, it was time to make the donuts. We sang Oh What a Night with dreams of what that night could be. And we learned 50 ways to leave our lover should we need to. We smiled when Sarah smiled, and we sang the songs that the whole world sang. We screamed, Mama, just killed a man, not realizing how disturbing it would be right now. And we felt like love hurts after we fooled around and fell in love. We shook our booty and took it to the limit one more time. We turned the beat around only to see we were right back where we started from. Those were the times of our lives, and I don't know about you, but I wanted to know what it felt like when he was killing me softly with his song. I still don't know. But I'd like to know. I felt like I'd do anything for love, but I told the guys, I can't go for that. No can do. We wanted to wake up everybody and tell them that breaking up is hard to do. We will never find another love, and sometimes we told a date, baby, I love your way. More times than most, we were stuck in the middle with you. And if you push a gal too far, she's gone. Then you'd spend your time trying to get the feeling again. And when you got a little older, you want to just take the money and run. No one was going to get in my squeeze box, even if you were still the one. I was with people that I felt like I wanted to save time in a bottle. We were born in the USA, and proud Mary screamed, I am woman, hear me roar. Bowie sang Golden Years, and look at us now. We're in the landslide. Looking in the mirror in the morning is a thriller. We shop downtown at Peaches and spend times playing with trolls, not trolling. Barbie was hot, Midge was a slut, Ken was bi, and we didn't care. He was gorgeous just the same. Beach Bunny Gidget was a flying nun who was friends with Yentl, who stood together and asked the world, why can't we be friends? We were intrigued with the little glass bottle with the penny in it. Can't figure out to this day how it got in there. And Penny Candy ate incredible edibles and even baked in a tiny little fucking oven called Easy. And it was anything but easy. I drove a 66 T-Bird that my father won in a contest. Got it about 11, 12 years later. Manual windows, no AC, black interior, hot as hell, with an 8-track tape singing Beach Boys, fun, fun, fun. Till her daddy takes her T-Bird away. At that time, my dad was older and tired. And no matter what I did, he didn't take the T-Bird away. Today, we're in a bowl of confusion, in war, and it's in our midst. Our house is no longer the people's house. And I believe I can color my world if I know we all teach our children a code they can live by. Love means never having to say you're sorry, but you should. You never want to be friends with a kid that will go crazy on you. And I don't know about you, but who the hell is Eli and why was he coming? To this day, I'm wondering. As reality has it, our music built a generation. Back then, the innocent apprehension of touching someone made our hearts flutter and our hands shake. Kids today don't know what it's like to have a safe kiss. Today, they don't know how to occupy themselves with themselves. They don't know truly what it means when somebody says, you've got a friend. And your song is your story to be told only by you. In summation, and I know you've hung on long enough, I believe that children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us of how it used to be. Add to this, I would love to see what you have to say. I'd love to see where you've come from. Okay? Rockin' Robin, tweet, tweet, tweet. Peace out.